ladies, it's me, Auntie Buffie, to another episode of Crawl Before You Ball, Love, Relationships, and Money, a part of the ACAST Pod Network. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. We're going to get into our show quickly, but remember, and don't forget, if you have a question for TT, all you have to do is text it to 404-737-1091. Don't forget to text CBYB, which is Crawl Before You Ball, to 404-737-1091. Now, why should you listen to TT? Because one, I've been married for 20 years, period. Been with my man 25. Two, I was a licensed mortgage broker. I was a licensed tax practitioner. I was a licensed life and health insurance agent for over 20 years with my successful financial practice. And she retired when she was 41 years old. So you should listen to TT. All right. So we're going to get into our show quickly. Thank y'all so much. Now, before we get to kicking together, Auntie has to give you your daily vegetable. You need your dose of vegetables, honey. Okay, so we're going to talk about the stuff you don't want to talk about, but you need to talk about. And y'all know Auntie doesn't care. I'm going to tell you what I think you need to have. We need to talk about budgeting as a couple, a financial plan that works. Now, first things first, if you are living together, if you're shacking, if you're married, if you're thinking about getting married, you need to have these conversations before, not after. When everybody's still lovey-dovey and in a good mood and ain't nobody mad with nobody about not paying a bill or, the water bill high this month because Auntie Buffie loved the water high hydrangeas. When we lovey-dovey and nobody's upset with each other, we need to talk about it then. So a couple of things. When should you talk about this? Like after you finally first sit down and have this conversation. Couples, you shouldn't do it one time. You do it the first time, but then you have to do it quarterly or annually if it's too confusing for y'all. And the reason you have to do that is because you have to account for changes. Sometimes people lose their job. Sometimes people get a raise at work. Sometimes somebody's family member done moved in and we helping them. Sometimes somebody's mama sick and we having to pay some medical bills. And so you need to account for those changes in your budget as a couple. Maybe you decide to buy a house. Maybe you're not renting anymore. And if you don't have these conversations throughout the year, you don't account for that. So when you think of a budget, you need to think of it as a living, growing thing. It's not a finite, this is what it's always going to be and it's never going to change. And sometimes that allows for peace. For me, it does. Because if you have this like hard and fast budget and you think, oh, it can't ever change, can't ever, add in some fun or increase the fun budget, then it makes you feel confined. So if you think about it like, well, when we have our quarterly meeting or our, semi-annual meeting or our annual meeting, then I can argue the points to maybe up that budget or change this or that. And so you can reevaluate your goals. You also need to track your progress. I'm a big fan of these apps out here. Nothing wrong with using technology for you to track your progress along the way. A lot of people ask TT, how much should we be saving together as a couple? You should be saving about 15 to 20% of your income. Yep. I said that with my full chest, 15 to 20% of your income. You should be saving. Saving for your future, saving for generational wealth, saving so we ain't got to work forever because nobody wants to work forever. We don't believe in that stereotype of everybody want to work till they 65 years old and then you ain't got but like with life expectancy, 10 years to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Lies. We're not doing that. We're going to work hard for a specified period of time and then we're going to be on some trips. Okay. That's what we're doing. That's what we're planning for. And so that means you have to sacrifice and you have to sacrifice as a couple. I talk about this in my book, Crawl Before You Ball, all the time, where Auntie Buffie and Uncle Dave decided earlier on in our marriage that we were going to crawl for a specified period of time. And it was about 5 years where Uncle Dave didn't buy me any gifts. I didn't buy him any gifts. We didn't go on any trips. We didn't let our friends say, well, dog, he a doctor. Why y'all ain't going on trips? Why you ain't having a holiday party? Why you ain't? We blocked out all that noise because we had a goal as a couple. And that's what you have to do when you join finances as a couple. A lot of people ask about joining your finances together. Should we have a joint account? Should we have separate accounts? What should we do? If you're dating, you need to keep your own separate accounts. You just dating. You got your house, I got my house. You don't need to have all that, but we can have the discussion when we start to get serious and we decide that we may want to live together or we're moving toward marriage. That's when you start having the discussion. Or if you're dating and somebody asking you to borrow some money, but you know how Titi feel about that. So no, it's a red flag early on in a relationship. But if you're moving toward moving together and you're going to commingle your life, living together, commingle finances, then it's time to discuss what we should do with our bank accounts. I think to keep things clean when you're dating and shacking and living together, and when you're married, you should have a joint account that you each deposit your portion of the monthly expenses to that account. And then that account will be responsible for paying the rent or the mortgage or the insurance policies or the utilities. And then there's no confusion. There's no, you missed your deposit. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You didn't do it out of your account, or no ambiguity where I don't know if it's come out of your account. Everything is out in the open for each party to see, but you still remain independent and you still have your personal checking account. But we all hands on deck, all eyes on that joint account, because we need to see that. You also, as a couple in that joint account, should put your responsibility of saving in that account each month so that we can both see that we're doing what we're supposed to do. And there's, again, no ambiguity about, well, I don't know what she's doing in her personal account. I don't know what he's doing in his personal account. I don't know what they doing. I don't need to be worried about them personal accounts, because the joint account is all that matters. And in a relationship, that is, that's a big step. But moving in together with somebody is a big step too. And so if y'all grown enough to be laying up in the bed and they married, then you grown enough to have this grown conversation and join these finances together. And, there are legal and financial considerations that y'all need to be concerned about as well, especially for my nieces and nephews that are part of the LGBTIA community, or the ones who are in interracial relationships like Uncle Dave and I were. If you're not married, but you done joined your finances, or you got kids, or, if one party, something happens to them, they're sick or they pass away, you got to put some legal protections in place for your loved one. I will tell you this. I love my in-laws, but baby, I'm not leaving that up for chance. When Uncle Dave and I were dating and shacking, and yes, we shacked too, so I ain't judging you. We shacked for a good 5 years before we got married. We bought a house together. We did all these things, all the things. But what I was not going to do is not have no legal protections in place if something happened to him and I'd be saddled with, at that time, a $650,000 mortgage by myself. That was not going to happen. We both owned the home, and so I made sure both our names was on the title. Because title is king. We were both on the mortgage. And Auntie gonna get into more about title and mortgage later. But what's important is title is king, so that nobody could throw me out of my house. And my nieces and nephews and theys who are the LGBTIA community, y'all know what the heck I'm talking about. Everybody's lovey-dovey while everybody's alive and in full capacity, and they got no problems. And, everybody's good and fine with our life and all that. But when somebody gets sick and can't speak for themselves or passes away, folks show their true colors. And I've seen it in my family. So to cut away at that drama, put your big draws on and get the legal stuff put together so that nobody can come in and mess up what you've set up and what you want to protect your partner and your kids and your life that you've built with your partner. This is a very uncomfortable conversation to have, because sometimes you don't want to be like, well, I know your sister gonna be like blah 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 blah, or your mama might be like, or your daddy might be like, or your cousin might be like. But that's the world we live in. And so if you want to protect your family, then you got to grow up. When we starting to put ourselves together and say, hey, we about to live together, we about to join our lives, we got to join our legal responsibilities, we got to join our investment accounts, we got to join our savings, we got to join our bills and our responsibilities, and we have to figure out budgeting for our time together as a couple. Time is our most valuable asset. Auntie talks about that all the time. They're not making no more time, just like they ain't making no more land. And so you need to make sure that you spend time as a couple. You make it a date when you plan this. Uncle Dave and I do this quarterly, and we make it a date. We go out first and get us some drinks and stuff, and then we come back home and we sit down and we do the work. And it is work. You know, we look at our last 3 to 6 months bank statements, credit card statements, cash receipts, and you know, we say, did we need to really spend this much money eating out? Did we really need to do this? Did we need to do that? It's funny. Those apps, they will like crunch all the numbers and do everything for you, but it's a good exercise to have to do that yourself because it's painstaking and it makes you see, oh, I really did order with those meal apps all this money. I could have put this in an investment plan. It being tactile and touching the receipts, it does something to your brain. And so I think that it's important for you to sit down and make this a habit and actually go through it and see it physically and come up with the budget together and make adjustments throughout the year. So you got your assignments. You know what's what. I gave you your daily vegetables for today. But guess what? It's that time to kiki and have fun and ask Auntie Buffie whatever you want. And we have special guests here, one of which just flew in just to talk to Auntie today. I feel so very special. We have Naomi and Jordan. Woohoo! How are y'all doing today?
Hi, Titi. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Jordan, thank you for flying in today. I really appreciate it and feel extra and special. I feel the love. Titi feels the love. So, y'all, let me tell y'all a little bit about Naomi and Jordan. They have been married for 3 years. They had a big old fabulous lavish wedding. Auntie gonna get all into them about that. We love to celebrate their love, and they've been together for a total of 11 years, and they have 2 beautiful baby girls and just had a new baby girl who is the new baby girl is 6 weeks old.
Yeah, 6 weeks old.
Hey, I'm so happy for y'all. So tell me a little bit about your love and this wedding.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we worked together. She had a plan. She said, she came to me and said, I want to get married in a castle.
Okay.
And I said, so we get married in London or somewhere, I don't know about any castles. So we went to about 17 venues.
Yes. Okay. So he didn't know. So I did research. I was like, no, there is castles in the tri-state area. We're going to go see every one of them because I'm a queen and, we have to get it done. And also we were just coming off of a really hard time. I actually had 2 life-threatening liver resection surgeries. So
oh my goodness.
At this point, we were like, we saved up for this. We had been together for almost 8 years. And we were like, we have to do it big. We had already been through trials and tribulations leading up to the wedding. So at this point, it was like, we already know we're going to be together. We're here to celebrate. So we did it big.
Well, then TT ain't going to fuss at you. Hit me with I was sick. TC again. But you know what? You said the key thing. You said we've saved and we prepared and we did our research. It wasn't some on the whim thing where you got, set up no darn GoFundMe asking people to pay for your darn wedding. You did it yourself. And so for that, TT respects you and just a little bit mad I didn't have no darn invitation because I heard y'all was all the way up in the Essence magazine and everywhere. Like, I didn't get no invitation.
For the 10 year, we're going to have to run it back because
you are
still talking about the wedding.
So you get the invite for that one.
I best get it. Me and your Uncle Dave want to be there too. We give good
gifts.
Priority. I don't crawl before I ball with gifts. I ball when I give my nieces and nephews gifts. Okay. So now, Jordan, I think you have a question for me. What's your question for TT?
I guess our question.
Oh, whoops, sorry. So Naomi, you have a question for TT. What's your question, darling?
Okay, it's Naomi. I'm so sorry.
Naomi. Oh no, correct me.
No.
I
used to say it first and I wasn't gonna say it, but then I was like, okay, let me
No. Correct, TT. And get that on camera too. Yes, get your name all the way correct, Auntie. Don't be calling me. It's Naomi, honey. Get it right. All right. I'm so sorry. So Naomi, you have a question for TT. What's your question, darling?
Okay, so we're savers, and we wanted to know how much should each parent be contributing to ensure our children's financial success. For context, we've already set up custodial accounts and 529 plans, and both for our daughters' names. Is there anything else we should be doing to build generational wealth for our girls?
I love that you just told Auntie that you already have custodial accounts set up and 529 plans set up and that y'all are savers. You just made me so very happy. I'm so very happy.
Crawling.
Yes, crawling. But you already balled with the wedding. You're going to ball again. Don't worry about that. Right. So let me just tell you, I love a good old 529 plan. I love custodial accounts, but I'm also a big fan of UTMAs. Have you heard of UTMAs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a custodial account. What custodial account do you mind what is it, an account where the kids can use what the money for whatever they want when they get older if they choose not to go to college? Is that what kind of plan you have?
Yes, so it's a traditional brokerage account where
Okay.
they'll be bequeathed those assets
Yeah.
at the first future date.
So let's explain more of that to our listeners, our other nieces and nephews, because I know y'all are well versed in all that. For me, I love a 529 plan, but it kind of keeps you into if they do the traditional thing to go to college and all of that. But with a UTMA or the custodial account, which Auntie prefers and what I use for our nephews and nieces, if they don't go to college, if they decide they want to start a business, if they decide they want to go and take a gap year and travel the world, things parents don't usually want to hear, but we need to plan for, right? They want to buy their first car. They want to do all this stuff. And I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. When you say how much should each parent contribute, what do you mean by that?
Like, is there a percentage of the household income that we should be contributing to that once kind of all those other line items are taken care of?
So what are you contributing now? How much? What percentage?
Right now, we're contributing about $75 per week to each account.
I think when people say, oh, you should do 15% of this or 10% of that, that only works for like overall. I would always say overall, 15% of your income you should put away for saving. But within that 15%, you have to determine how much of that works within your individual budget for this bucket of saving and investing. I can't tell you that. I don't like when people say, oh, it should be 3% of the 15%. You have to determine how much of that works for you within your own budget. So like how much within the 15% or how are y'all saving 15 or 20% for your total? How much?
A little bit more than that.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
tell me how much.
Probably closer around 20%. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so y'all my nieces and nephews, that's been my nieces and nephews forever. Okay.
I think also to piggyback off that, since you think that the custodial account is better because of the contingent hole, we'd be switching our proportions to do more in the custodial account versus the traditional 529 plan we have.
Personally, for me, I do because of AI. We don't know what's going to happen in the future with careers. And so a lot of these careers where we're like kids, you know, you're going to go to college, these traditional trajectory of going to college, the old plan of go to college, get a master's degree, do all that. AI is going to take some of them jobs. And quite honestly, nowadays it's looking like them trade jobs that we used to stick our nose up to are the ones that AI cannot do. Good old plumbing, good old electrician, all of that. I think UTMA gives you the benefit of allowing them to decide, maybe I want to start a business. Maybe I want to, maybe I want to be a TikTok star. People want to shade about that, but whatever, the children making money on the YouTube and the social media and all that selling things. And so I think we need to think outside of the box, and you need to do that with your investments for your kids because you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure y'all read some of the articles. You see a lot of these professionals about to get knocked out with AI that we went to school and did what we were supposed to do to have. And so for me, I think, yes, I would put a little bit more into the UTMA than the traditional 529.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So Jordan, I heard you have a question for me.
Yes. Can you speak a little bit to life insurance policies and how they can be used as a financial tool in your relationship? And should your partner and or children be the beneficiary of those policies, or should the beneficiary be placed in a living/irrevocable trust?
Baby, I love y'all so much. Auntie loves a living irrevocable trust. I love when I was in my tax practice, I would love when they would bring their statements in and it said the irrevocable trust for their bank accounts and their home and all their stuff. It just screams balling, baby. It just screams. It just screams. I got my ish together. It just screams probate what? It just screams the state ain't getting my assets. So I tell nieces and nephews, if you're crawling, and it sounds like y'all are not crawling, sounds like y'all are you're in the AP class. You're in the AP class. I would say if you're crawling, start with a wheel, you know, the first steps or whatever, and use life insurance as a tool for a couple of things. One, peace of mind. There are two types of life insurance. There are term life policies, which Auntie says are the renters of insurance. It's for a specified time period. It'll pay death, it'll pay for cover like the funeral and, expenses and stuff after death, but it's for a specified time period and it does not grow cash value. The all-star of life insurance is a whole life insurance policy. They're a lot more expensive, but you invest in yourself and you can borrow against it and grow cash value. So I would say, yes, definitely have the irrevocable trust be the beneficiary. But if you're crawling, make your spouse the beneficiary of the life insurance policy. And then whoever, in the event that you and your spouse, because a lot of people forget this, y'all always travel together, right?
Yeah.
A lot. And what if my grandma and them are watching the kids, or your line sisters are watching the kids, and something horrible happens to the two of y'all? If you make the kids a beneficiary to trust, they're not of age, right? And so then guess who's gonna get the money? If there's no will, the state gonna come in, right? Because children can't get it. So you need to have somebody that's an executor of the will or of the trust to handle that and make sure that the kids are taken care of. So what do y'all have going on with what have you set up so far? Or are you in the process of doing that?
Well, we'll get into this, but we have two properties, and I want to make sure that, if something happens to me or either of us, that the other one could pay off those mortgages. I know you talked about you and Uncle Dave, $650,000 mortgage. If something happens, to one person, then that they will get paid off, and it's not a burden on my wife. So, right now I actually have about $1 million in life insurance. About 900 of that is in term. Because again, if something happens in the next 30 years while we're paying off these two mortgages, I want to make sure that, she could take care of it. And then there's a little bit extra, for funeral costs and, paying off the car and things like that. Then I have about 150,000 in whole life as well. And, but we're also investing, right? So the way I think about it is if we're investing and we've got a joint investment account, to grow that asset along with our retirement assets as well. So that, further on down the road, we've got other pockets of capital that we could tap into, if something happens to somebody.
So these two, sorry, go ahead, darling.
I was going to say, and as we both have life insurance policies, we were trying to figure out, should we reroute it to be in that trust, or what's the best way to go about, as we talked about, having that owner of it for our girls. And especially, they be traveling with us too. They got global entry. But
you got some grown people don't have global entry. I be like, I ain't waiting for you. Bye.
Oh no, we're not playing with the girls. So we love to travel, but just in case anything happens, we definitely wanted to make sure they were set up and knowing what can go into that living trust and like the best way for them to fully benefit from all of our assets and all we've been saving up for.
So first thing I want to address is, okay, so tell me about these two properties. There are two properties in each of your names. You don't have you've not added each other's names. They're not in a living trust now. What's going on with the properties? Okay, you had them before marriage.
No, we got them. We got the first one right before we got married. We got the second one while we were married, but we wanted to benefit from the first-time home buyers.
Smart.
Lower down payment.
Little loophole.
So that's why we put the first home in my name, and then we put the second home in her name, so we could get that lowered at 5% down payment.
Baby, I feel like I birthed y'all myself.
I said you can adopt us first.
I feel like y'all the poster children for Uncle Dave and Auntie Buffie's children. I don't think y'all nieces and nephews. I think y'all daughter and son. Okay, so smart. Now that you've done that, it's time to put that in the trust. Yeah. How long have you had the properties?
3 years and 2.
Oh yeah, so you passed the time where anybody could say something crazy, right? So you've been renting them out, I presume?
Well, the first one we live in one, and then the other one, yes, we rent out.
Okay, so the one that you rent out, definitely is one. Are one of y'all a real estate agent?
Ooh, I'm actually in real estate accounting, but everyone's been saying you should go ahead and get your.
You know why, right?
what? Because
Because
land.
because you can take further advantage of. See, I'm getting off. You can take further advantage of, instead of it being so passive, it's active because you're a real estate agent. Deductions associated with since part of your investment plans are to acquire more land, and Auntie is a big proponent of that because they ain't growing no more land.
That's what it's
And that's an appreciating asset that ain't nobody gonna be able to take from you. We never, never, never sell. So when y'all get your forever home and leave the home that you're living in now, we're gonna turn that into an investment property as well. That's the plan, yes?
That's the plan. Mm-hmm.
Right. But just think about it. I know you're busy. You got a new baby. You got another baby, and you just got, you're a couple. But just down the line, and Auntie may call you off the line and tell you the benefits of why you might want to get that little real estate license just to have, just for y'all, not pursue it,
Yeah.
crazily. But
Well, you just gave me an inspiration because I have the books. My real estate agent dropped the books off and was like, "You need to do this," and I was like,
she's right.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me
Yeah,
open. Auntie got me want to open them books on maternity leave.
Yeah. Now, Jordan, remind me what your question again, darling, because I got excited and I don't.
We gotta tackle most of it because it leads.
Or it was Naomi's question. I didn't get into.
Okay, yeah, it is. So it pivoted right away. So yeah, real estate we know is a means of financial freedom. Everyone's going to always need some place to live, so it's a great way to help with generational wealth. And as we discussed, my husband has a house in his name, and we have the second house in our name. And we just wanted to know the best way to help capitalize on those investments. And when we choose the buyer forever home, should we put them both in our names, or should we put both our names on the properties we already have? Like, how should we allocate our current investments and our future investments?
So if you're going to go the trust route, put everything in a trust, because it protects it. Nobody can do anything. If something, you get in a car, somebody try to sue you, nobody can ever get it. All of our assets, Uncle Dave and Auntie Buffy's, everything is in trusts. And we each have our own irrevocable trust. And so, and then, you have the person that manages that, and that's, who, allegedly. And so nobody can ever come after those assets. And if something were to happen, you have it very well spelled out. And then, the tax implications of having a trust versus not having it set up. It sounds like y'all are in a place where I think it's time to do that. And then as you acquire other assets, put them in the trust. If you want to crawl before getting into that, because yes, there are a lot of expenses associated with establishing the trust. Yes, put it in both of your names. You're married, you're commingling funds, you're commingling life, you commingle DNA and created beautiful children. It's time to show up and show out, and we are in this together. We're not roommates, right? Right? And so we need to join our assets together. And then also you need to be on the title of each other's property, because if something happens, family is great, but you just never know when stuff happens. And I know y'all are married, but just to keep things clean and copacetic, just go on and do a quick claim deed real quick and go on and put each other on each of those properties, because title is king. Mortgage doesn't matter. A lot of people won't tell you that. And as a former licensed mortgage broker, I can tell you, title is what's king, not the mortgage. Nobody care about who on the mortgage. We care about who on that title. That's who really owns the properties.
Okay. That's excellent advice.
Well, thank y'all so much. I'm so excited for y'all. Thank you for flying in today, Jordan. Am I good, y'all? Thank you so much for flying in today. I really feel special about that. And I want to talk to y'all separately offline. I may bug y'all because y'all are poster children for doing what you're supposed to do. So you don't have to, you can do what you want to do later. And they need to see young Black couples like, you can do it and still have a beautiful wedding. You can do it and still have your home and your kids and your family and your life and still look fly. Y'all still dress nice. You still got your hair. You know what I mean? A lot of people think when you budget, you can't still live. And that's just not true. And so, no, this really makes me smile and makes me happy. And I'm gonna tell my team, I'm so happy. This shows me that y'all out here doing it, and that what I'm doing is helpful. And discussions like we've had today are gonna help other couples, especially young ones like you are starting a family. So thanks so much for coming on today. Now,
thank you for having us. We got a 6-week upset. I told you my line sisters are watching them.
I love it, and I love that. And I'm gonna call you when Madam President wins, so you can go on and brag and do your whole skiwi thing in my ear, and I'm just gonna take it. Okay.
No, get the daughters something pink and green because we'll be out celebrating.
I will. I know they can't wear nothing but pink pig and grit. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, Auntie Buffie, we have some more questions for you.
All right, Cole, what you got for me, girl?
Dear Buffy, I got married 3 years ago and have secretly been pissed at my husband since the day I said I do. He forced me to sign a prenup the day before our wedding, and I have not gotten over it. I really felt like I did not have a choice, and I know there is nothing that I can do about it now. Do you think this is something I can ever get over? How do I talk to him about it now? Is it worth talking about? How can I ever trust him?
Oh my goodness. Baby, how you been pissed since the wedding? You ain't have fun at the wedding or on the honeymoon. I hope it's been some fun. That breaks my heart. And what you mean by he forced you to sign a prenuptial agreement? We have free will, darling. Free will does exist in the world. I want you to look at a prenuptial agreement in a different way. I think that sometimes we, look at what's going on in the media and we see celebrities with these prenuptial agreements and stuff, and we see it as what we can't get. But really, prenups, in my view, because I hit Uncle Dave up with one too before when he proposed to me, he got one within the next week or so. You need to look at a prenup as what I do get. What are the plans for what are the plans for our life together and what happens? Hopefully this prenup said, I'm protecting my assets before marriage, but as we live together, we grow assets together and you get half of it. I'm hoping it's like an equitable prenuptial agreement without having seen it or talking to you in person about it. But Auntie wants to say maybe, just maybe, you kind of need to reframe your thought patterns on a prenuptial agreement and not look at it like it's such a bad thing. And when somebody's hit you with a prenup, baby, go get yours. Go get yours and say, you have the right to say, I want this, that, and the other. But it sounds like it was right before your wedding and you didn't want that wedding not to happen. So you just signed it. And I hate that for you. What do you mean you can't trust them? You think because he didn't prep you for the prenuptial agreement and he hit you with the last minute with it that he's untrustworthy? Maybe he was just scared and loves you and didn't want to cause a problem with the wedding either because he wanted it to go through, but he always wanted to do that. Now, Auntie's playing devil's advocate because Auntie, if you had called me on FaceTime and asked me this, I'd be like, he did what? The day before? I would keep it real. I would have been mad too. And I probably would have advised you to get an attorney and deal with that. But now that you've signed it and now that y'all are married, you can't stay pissed at your man. You decided to sign it. You have to take some ownership in that because you could have said no. So it must not have been that bad. It wasn't that bad for you not to go through with the wedding. Take some ownership in that. And there is something you can do about it. You can talk to him about it. Y'all are married. You've joined your life together. You should be able to talk about finances. I just don't understand how you kissing somebody, which is the most intimate thing ever, and bumping uglies with somebody and you comfortable with doing that, but you can't talk about money? That don't make sense to TT. It just don't. Not doesn't. Don't. So sit down, have a conversation with your spouse and say, look, I got a bad taste in my mouth from you presenting that prenuptial agreement to me the day before our wedding. If it's really that and not just the prenup in it itself. Because to me, it might be just the timing of it. And say, hey, I understand you want to protect assets. That's fine. Marriage, most 60% of marriages end in divorce. I get it. But if we had had a meaningful discussion about this before and you prepped me, then it wouldn't be so jarring. And we haven't discussed it ever since then, but I'm still, a little bit in my feelings about it. And I want to move forward in our life together and have full trust. And so we got to talk about this. And I need you to just sit and listen to me. And you get it all out. And if you're somebody that's like Auntie, that's very spirited and get to yelling and fussing, then just tell them, look, don't take anything from this, but let me just get it all out. And then you sit down and you do the same, afford him the same right, and be quiet and let him answer fully. And like Auntie, I'm ADHD, so you'll see me looking down sometimes with this pen. I'll take a note. If you need to take notes while they're talking. Because sometimes we like listening to people for our little what we gonna say back and not really listening to them. And both of y'all need to do that. The prenup is in place, but there are things that can change that if it's that upsetting to you. And so there's a way out. There are changes that can be made. The end is not near. Don't let this color your relationship and your marriage, okay? I don't think he meant that, anything negative about it. He just probably handled it differently. All right, love you. And if you have a question for TT, text CBYB to 404-737-1091.
All right, your next question is from your Crawl Before You Ball text community.
Hey, babies. Hey.
How do you navigate financial decisions made without your consent in marriage?
How do you navigate financial decisions made in marriage without your consent? Well, how we married and we making financial decisions without them being joint in the first place? So yeah, that's a red flag. That's a problem. Somebody loaned somebody some money, baby. Somebody got a separate account you ain't know about, darling. Somebody went and took out a student loan and went to school and didn't discuss it with you. Like, what happened? What happened? Yeah, that's a no-no. The way to navigate that is we're going to sit down and have a grown folks discussion. And we're going to say that is a no-no. We are not roommates. Teacher going to sound like a broken record. Like I do in my book, Crawl Before You Ball. We are not roommates. When we decide to join our lives together and sign legal documents and stand before the Lord and the justice of the peace and say we're going to be married, then we're going to be fully invested in each other and discuss all things and come up with a decision about all things in our life together. And when it happens without our consent, we gotta roll that back. We got to go through what made this person make this decision without thinking they were comfortable enough to discuss it with you. Was it done with malicious intent? Was it done because they feel like they were stuck between a rock and a hard place? Was it some family member coming within your finances? What happened? Y'all need to go back, discuss it, retrace your steps, and then make sure that this does not happen in the future. Because again, a lot of marriages break up because of stuff like this, because of money problems. Not we can't pay the bills. A lot of people think it's because we can't pay the bills. Sometimes it's because we out here loaning friends money, loaning my mama money, and not talking about it with my spouse. Giving my line brother some money or my line sister, whoever, without discussing it with my spouse. And so you've got to talk. Communication is key. That's what's important. And you're going to have this very ugly conversation, but it is what it is. Thank you for your question. So if you have a question, text CBYB to 404-737-1091 and Auntie might feature your question on the upcoming episode. Y'all got Auntie all the way messed up with paying what for these weddings? Y'all pay what? Unless your name is Naomi and Jordan. Don't be out here spending all this darn money on these darn crazy behind weddings, okay? First of all, who in the world is having some extravagant behind wedding and you have not planned for it? You ain't got no money. You ain't got no rich parents that's paying for it. You ain't got no auntie or uncle that's got some coins. I'm going to pay for this wedding. How are you starting your life off in debt? I done heard they got companies out there now that will loan you money. These wedding planners, these deceitful little, and I love y'all if you're a wedding planner, don't come for TT. I'm just saying, y'all need to stay with the folks like Naomi and Jordan who have planned and put a plan together in place and have the coins to pay for a wedding and budget and save. Instead of these children out here getting these high interest loans, yes, baby, they got loans. They got buy here, pay later. They got a payday loan for weddings now, where you can get a high interest loan so you can stunt and show out for people on Instagram about your life together. Y'all do know that weddings are for everybody else and not really for you, right? A lot of times when I talk to couples, they don't even get no food and you done paid $150, $200 a head for people to eat at the wedding. And listen, Auntie loves love. I do. But I'm going to tell you, I walk it like I talk it. Like I discussed in my book, Crawl Before You Ball, Auntie and Uncle eloped. And yes, we eloped to Paris, France. Because Auntie saved and did what she was supposed to do. But there wasn't nobody there but me and Uncle Dave, a photographer, my wedding gown that I got from, I ain't going to say the company name, but it was one of them cheap companies. And because I was wearing it for one day. One day. It was a gown for one day. I didn't need to spend a new car payment on no wedding gown. And our pastor. And, we then spent our honeymoon in Paris. And it was just about us. And we came back home and everybody was mad. They'll be all right. But I saved my parents some money because if I had got married in the United States of America, it would have been some crazy 500 people fiasco. I'd have been fighting with my sister and my mama. Who wants all that drama? Now, if you're somebody who likes that, that's fine. That's fine, but you need to budget and plan for it. For me, I feel like it's a setup for failure for a lot of couples to think that when you start your life off together, you have to start it off fronting for people. We're happy to celebrate y'all just if you go to the justice of the peace, if you get married in your living room or in the backyard. We can celebrate your love without you breaking the bank. And quite honestly, I would much rather you put the money that you would put for a wedding together into buying a home. Starting your life together with an appreciating asset, having a savings account or a retirement account or some investment account that you all have together so that you can have peace of mind in your finances when life's up and downs happen, because they are going to happen. And peace of mind is better than one day where you just showed out for everybody. It just is. And a lot of people don't like this take of aunties on weddings. You know, I harken back to one time I saw on social media this couple who people were judging them because they got married in the pavilion at their apartment complex. And somebody filmed the wedding from the terrace of their apartment. And it was lovely. They had flowers. They had their family members and friends there who did a cookout in the pavilion, and it was inexpensive, and they still had pictures and fun. And I bet you they still married to this day. And maybe the money that they spent not showing out for everybody, they were able to put into getting out of that apartment and buying them a house and having an appreciating asset that they could grow together. I love y'all, but Auntie hates some bad debt. Auntie's a fan of good debt, cheap debt, borrowing other people's money so you can grow appreciating assets. But I am not a big fan of bad debt. Stay away from these high interest loans so that you can front and flash for people for having a wedding. It's not necessary. Wake up. Don't fall for the tomfoolery. You have Auntie's permission to say, we're going to crawl into our marriage. And maybe when we hit 10 years, then we can ball. We can go rent out someplace and have a fabulous reception and celebrate our marriage that works over the past 10 years when we got something to celebrate. We're just starting out right now, and we need to slow our roll and crawl and build generational wealth for ourselves and our kids. And so it's important to listen to TT, block out all that Instagram noise and all the people that want to stay in your pockets but ain't going to contribute a dime toward this wedding and running their mouths about what you should spend and what you should have. And Kiki had this and Simone had that. Screw them. They also got some debt behind it. We're not trying to have that. Okay? You have Auntie's permission to crawl into your marriage. Blame me. Okay? And now, if you have a question for TT, you can text CBYB to 404-737-1091, and we just may answer your question on an upcoming episode. All right, the time has come, nieces and nephews. I love y'all so much. Today was such a fun show. Thank you to all my guests who came on. It's time for Auntie's assignment. This is what I need you to implement into your life. Today, we talked about budgeting as a couple. I want y'all to look at budgeting as financial freedom and not like it's some horrific curse word like some of y'all act like. It's not a 4-letter word. Okay, it gives you something that you can look forward to, that you can rely on, that you can go back to. For me, I like to have something that tells me this is what I'm supposed to do. Auntie's very type A. And so you can refer back to it. But also we talked about budgets being a living, breathing, changing, ever evolving thing. And so we also talked about couples' finances and when you should discuss your finances together. When you start to get serious, you decide you want to live together, and definitely when you decide you want to get married. We talked about UTMAs, which are custodial accounts for kids that offer more flexibility than 529 plans in terms of whether your kids are going to go to college, whether they're going to want to start a business, whether they may decide, I don't want to do any of that. I want to take a year and go travel the world, or I just want to buy a car, or buy my first house, or use the money that you've saved for me to start buying properties. UTMAs give more flexibility with that. And they also are good for aunties and uncles to save for their nieces and nephews. We can be custodians of those types of accounts as well and add the parents on. Auntie also talked about real estate and that title is king. And when you're in a relationship, sometimes like Naomi and Jordan, you already have assets, you already own properties before you get married, and how you navigate joining that together. And so if you already have a mortgage on the property that you live in, and that's the house that you guys are going to live in jointly together, and you already have a separate mortgage on the property that one of the partners lived in before that is now an investment property, all you need to do is update the title. Title is king. And what that means is you do a quit claim deed and you add your spouse to it. And yes, when you're married, there are legal protections in place for all of that, but just keep stuff clean, child. Don't let nobody have any room for ambiguity with appreciating assets, okay? So go on and get your legal stuff together from the jump. And quit claim deeds don't cost nothing. It costs like $20, child, $50 fee. It ain't no big deal. You can do it yourself, or you can hire a closing attorney to do it. We talked about, y'all, in my rant, not spending too much money on these weddings or none at all. Auntie loves love, and I walk it like I talk it. Uncle Dave and I, we eloped because I knew it had been a fiasco. And so I'm not going to tell you to do something that I didn't do myself. I didn't spend all that money on my wedding, and we've been together 25 years. The wedding doesn't dictate how your married life is going to be. If you spend too much money on that wedding, it might. Because then you griping and groaning and upset because you're still paying off how you started your life. And I don't want that for y'all. Now, remember, you can always refer back to all of these little tidbits that Auntie gives y'all in each episode in my book, Crawl Before You Ball, available at anywhere books are sold. Auntie wrote this book like I talk. It's not some financial jargon filled hard to understand book. It's only a couple hundred pages. There are worksheets in the book. There's an online worksheet that you can use. I cuss in it, I act the fool, and I tell stories. It's a very easy read. And I did that purposely because I didn't want and don't want finances to be intimidating to my nieces and nephews. Now, I love y'all. I want y'all to take what we learned today and implement it into your life, however possible and wherever possible. And as always, if you like the content here, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, download the episode, review Auntie, all the things so we can keep this podcast going. I love you. Remember, Auntie loves you. I'm here for you. I'm always rooting for you to stay on top and handle your business, both in love and in money. I'll see you next week. Smooches.